Right, thank you very much. Right, I wanted to bring us through to our final session because it's going to get really into, I suppose, it's the hosts, it's our organisers today. They really need to tell you about what they're going to do next. So, can I welcome Claire Hindmarsh, Policy Manager, Major Road Network Policy at DFT, and Martin Tugwell, Programme Director at England's Economic Heartland, to tell us about the progress on the Major Road Network and the Major Road Network project pipeline. The floor is yours. You're self-managed. You've got lecterns, microphones, and about half an hour. Claire.
Excellent. I think I might have some slides about to come up. Yeah, brilliant. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Claire Hindmarsh. Thanks very much for sticking about this afternoon. I know it's a beautiful day outside, so one more session to go and then everyone can get out to the sunshine. So, as mentioned, my name's Claire Hindmarsh. I'm Policy Manager for MRN Policy Team at DFT, and I'll be giving a brief update this afternoon. So just to start off, what is the Major Road Network? What is the MRN? The Major Road Network is a middle tier of the busiest and most economically important local authority A roads. These sit on the local network, and they sit between the local network and the nationally managed strategic road network, which is made up of the motorways and trunk roads. The MRN provides a framework for targeted investment in these roads, where investment perhaps hasn't been targeted before. But beyond these targeted areas of investment, users won't be able to differentiate that the MRN is any different to the rest of the locally managed roads. Just like the Road Investment Strategy 2 programme, the MRN will be funded by the National Roads Fund, which is funded through vehicle excise duty, and this funding will begin in 2020 to 2021. The management of MRN roads will remain in responsibility of local authorities. So we've got 5 key objectives for the MRN. First being, very important one, reducing congestion, reducing traffic jams, bottlenecks. Secondly, as I mentioned, supporting the strategic road network, making sure that all of our MRN schemes are complementing what's already going on in the SRM. Thirdly, a big government priority, housing, unlocking land for new housing developments. Fourth, stimulating economic growth, delivering on the government's industrial strategy, and also driving regional rebalancing. Then finally, MRN must support all road users, including those with disabilities, walkers and cyclists. So just thinking now about the roles and who's involved in the MRN. So crucially, we have our SDBs, or sub-national transport bodies. We're really reliant on SDBs, and we've really enjoyed working with them throughout this MRN process so far. They provide strategic direction and coordination to the programme, coordinate across STBs on cross-boundary issues. They also act as a conduit between central government at DFT and local transport authorities, and they are prioritising the MRN schemes according to the most pressing regional needs. SDBs do a whole raft of other things also, but just highlighting what they do in the MRN context. We also work very closely with local authorities to identify, develop and deliver the schemes, and making sure that all relevant stakeholders such as district councils and environmental groups are feeding in and making sure that they're represented at regional level. Local authorities are also responsible for securing the 15% local contribution required for each MRN scheme. Highways England also have a very important role to play in supporting STBs in developing their regional evidence bases and providing access to all the great data and models that they have. Also, again, mentioning that they are making sure that the SRN and the MRN are working well together, and none of the schemes coming up in the MRN would negatively impact the strategic road network. Finally, we've got our MPs, LEPs, district and parish councils, making sure that all of these groups are consulted so that we're making collective decisions and that each region is represented fairly. Now moving on to the exciting bit, the money. So we have around £3.5 billion in the National Roads Fund for MRN and LLM schemes over the 5-year period, beginning from 2020 to 2025. LLM schemes are the large local major schemes. These are schemes which can't be funded through any other means, but sit within a local authority and are over the value of 50 million. MRN schemes are schemes that need a contribution from DFT of between 20 and 50 million, but these must be sat on the pre-identified MRN network. A DFT contribution to develop schemes or development funding to get schemes from SOB or Strategic Outline Business Case to OBC or Outline Business Case will be considered as well on a case-by-case basis. And again, local authorities are responsible for getting the 15% of total, 15% local contribution of total scheme costs, which are required for each MRN scheme. Just to give you an idea of some of the eligible MRN schemes, they can include bypasses, missing road links, widening of MRN roads, major structural renewals, major junction improvements, and traffic management, VMS, and technology. So in terms of an update over the summer of where the MRN and DFT are up to, as you can see here, we've got the map of the various SDB regions. We have 7 established or evolving SDBs and TfL who are working very hard on a priority scheme list for each SDB, which will be submitted on the 31st of July. We've been working very closely with the EH to develop their bids, and we're really looking forward to receiving their priority scheme list at the end of the month. We're expected around 70 MRN schemes and between 14 and 21 LLM schemes. These schemes, as I mentioned, will be prioritised. SDBs will be prioritising all the schemes that come through from local government on basis of MRN eligibility, whether they meet the 5 objectives, value for money, and whether they can be delivered within the 5-year period. As you can imagine, we've got quite a busy summer at DFT now. We've got all of these schemes coming in on the 31st of July. So over the summer, we will be assessing all the submitted schemes. Depending on what stage of development, there's slightly different assessment processes. For schemes that are at outline business case, which is slightly more developed, we'll be assessing them against the DFT 5-case model for programme entry. For pre-SOBC or SOBC schemes, we'll be taking them through an assessment panel to take them to the next stage of development. Decisions to progress schemes to the next stage will all be made on a case-by-case basis according to the analysis and evaluation of each business case as we assess them over the summer. So just thinking about a timeline where we've been and where we're going, from October last year, 2018, to December 2019, we've been developing the 5 early announced schemes. During the first half of this year, up till the end of this month, our SDBs and local authorities have been working hard on scheme prioritisation. From 31st of July onwards, we'll be reviewing the schemes for onward development or programme entry, depending on what stage their business cases are at. From 2020 to 21, the National Roads Fund begins. From 22 to 23, we'll be refreshing and reviewing the MRN. And then from 23 to 24, we hope to start investment planning for the next potential 5 years of funding, or MRN2. But we have yet to have confirmation if this will go ahead. So that brings me to the end of my update. So I'll hand over to Martin now. Thanks very much, and I look forward to your questions.
Well, good afternoon. It seems quite a while since we started the conference back just before 10 o'clock this morning, so thank you for sticking with us. I think you've seen during the course of the day that there's an awful lot that the team have been doing since we last met as a regional conference just 10 months ago. So I'd just like to put on record again my thanks to the whole of the team, because in addition to doing the outline transport strategy, we have, as Claire's been talking there, working on the major road network, and I just want to kind of just give you an update on where we are with that work. To start off with, we very much driven by the regional evidence base. It's important to understand that in terms of the regional evidence base, we've been taking the view that not only do we need this for the major road network work, but this is a part of the building block on which we'll develop the detailed transport strategy following the consultation and the engagement are now underway. We have the database, which for the first time brings together all the local plan information, the information from the industrial strategies, the local economic strategies, as well as a lot of other socio-economic data. So for the first time, we have a single database which actually gives a perspective of how we're working to deliver growth across the region over the next planned periods. That database, importantly, is available to all of our partners, not just locally within the region, but also within government itself. And indeed, I know colleagues at Highways England have been able to use it for some of their work because it allows us to actually move forward with some of the thinking more easily. There's work around the policy scenario model. This is a really cutting-edge piece of work. It allows us to think about in the longer term where are the opportunities for different scales and distributions of growth, and more importantly, what the relative implications are for the transport network moving forward. It is, as I say, cutting edge. It's been using technology that rolled out from one of the first rollout companies from the transport systems, Catapult, and it's giving us a capability that few of the regions actually have. And a piece of work in progress is the data hub. This is actually enabling us to bring together information so that people can have access to it, to think about how we respond to some of the challenges moving forward. So that regional evidence base, it's really fundamental, as I say, not just to the transport strategy for how we move forward with the major road network. In terms of our approach as a region, what we've been driven by is a sense of understanding that from a people and a business perspective, what we need to achieve, not just with the major road network, but with all the work we do in terms of investment moving forward, we have to first of all give that confidence to communities, to people, to businesses, that the investment will be made to address existing pressures on the transport system. Now, you heard Mayor Dave and Naomi say this morning that part of our success we've had over the years is actually bringing pressures on the transport system that we've currently got. And we need to make sure that the investment in not just the major road network, but also more generally, addresses that needs. Because by building the confidence within local communities, we'll be able to have a different conversation about the scale and the distribution of growth in the longer term. We also need to have then that clarity about where the investment priorities are. If we're going to have that conversation with the institutional investors, the people like CBRE, the people like Legal and General, we need to have some sense of how does that sense of priority in terms of where the investment opportunities are, how does that then map out into a longer term program? Because then that gives us the ability to be certain that when we will say we will deliver investment, we will actually do it and address our priorities. That combination of confidence, clarity and certainty are absolutely fundamental to moving forward. What we've got in England's economic heartland, and you've heard us from time to time talk about delivery partners, and again, grateful to the delivery partners for their sponsorship of today's event and previous events, but perhaps worthwhile just reflecting on the fact that the relationship we have with our delivery partners is like the England's economic heartland as a whole. It's a strategic collaborative partnership. We've been working with the delivery partners for the best part of 4 years now, almost since the formation of the original partnership. And it brings us a perspective in terms of how we approach our work that starts to bring in that dimension about how we start delivering it. So when we've been looking at the major road network, we've been talking and working with our delivery partners, getting their perspective on actually how do we make this work as a program. And the things that come back from our delivery partners are, if we have a program approach, they can start to actually manage their resources more efficiently and effectively. If they know there's a program of investment coming forward, they can invest in the skills and the experience that will actually allow them to develop and produce the schemes in a timely way. That combination of being able to plan with certainty and invest in skills is not just going to be important for the major road network, but it's going to be important about how we take forward some of those challenges around delivery. Now, in terms of the programme itself, the Strategic Transport Forum met under Mayor Dave's chairmanship last Friday. They considered the programme that was put before them, and what you have on the screen is the resulting programme that they've supported. You'll be able to get access to this on the website after the conference if you want to look at it in more detail. In total, it's 9 major road network schemes and 2 large local majors. Total value, something just over £700 million. What's interesting is that the process we've been through, our partners have looked at the opportunities, looked at the criteria, and there has been a measure of self-selection here, insofar that there are other schemes that we know are needed, but they're not being put forward at the moment because simply they're not ready. So what we've got is not only a programme for the next 5 years, but we've started to have the elements of a programme for the next 5-year period. If we think about schemes like the A420 corridor between Swindon and Oxford, if we think about the A505 corridor linking across from Luton to Cambridge, if we think about the A1M corridor and the connections to and from that, there's a range of investments that's going to need to come forward. And what we've got here is the start of a programme that's going to be available for the longer term. In terms of what happens next, we're working following the decision of the Strategic Transport Forum, we're working with our partners to make sure that they have the best possible case to put forward at the end of the month to the department. We're using some of the feedback we've had from the assessment process to work into that. So working with our delivery partners, we've done independent assessments of each of the proposals, not to judge them in terms of whether it's a pass or fail, but to look at them in terms of proposals being put forward. And we've got knowledge and experience there that we can now feed back into refining the proposals before they are submitted on the 31st of July. Claire mentioned the relationship with between EEH and Highways England. I have to say it's been a very productive relationship ever since Highways England was established between them and the STBs, and indeed that dates back to the first round of the road investment strategy and the current discussions around RIS2. So that working relationship, that partnership between the department, Highways England and EEH has been very productive. Moving forward beyond that, we're looking to try and address some of those challenges that this whole process has actually reinforced we need to think about if we're going to try and de-risk the sense of delivery. So what does that mean? We've identified that there's an issue about capacity and capability within the region to actually commission and develop the schemes, to bring forward the pipeline so that we can then have the proposals ready for in consideration for investment. That's a piece of work underway at the moment, and we'll look forward to having a business case that we can take forward to the department later this autumn as part of the spending review. And if we start going back to the conversation we heard earlier this afternoon with CBRE and Legal in General, looking to see how we develop a longer term investment strategy, one that looks at what is the longer term opportunities, one that talks in terms of the return of investment and the opportunities that will come from it, and one that talks not just to Treasury, but talks to the institutional investors. Because overall, as a region, the scale of opportunity, the scale of the potential that we have will not be delivered purely by investment by the public sector. It has to be a partnership with the private sector. It has to be a partnership with those who are looking to invest in the long term and to use that investment to support the growth and the opportunities within our businesses and people. So it's an exciting time. The major road network does provide us with a good starting point. But as we move forward with the outlined transport strategy and start to develop our detailed proposals, it will need to be shaped into a longer term investment strategy, a conversation that hopefully each and every one of you and those in the rest of the region will be looking to be engaged with as part of the work on the transport strategy moving forward. Thank you very much.
In from Slido. Claire, question here. Will RIS2 funding be available for the MRN improvements? How do you define the interface between the strategic road network and the major road network?
So, is this working? Yeah. So, RIS2 funding is coming from separate funding pot to the MRN and LM schemes. We have the 3.5 billion, which has been allocated to MRN and LM. We're working very closely with our RIS2 colleagues and Highways England to make sure that our schemes are complementing one another and that there isn't any places where there's no interface between the two.
So there's yet more money being ploughed in there. And there's another question. It says, MRN schemes just feel like isolated improvements, which is not what the Cornbury report concluded was needed. Where is the strategic thinking behind the MRN?
Oh, controversial. Okay. I would say that I would actually disagree with that point. I've worked both in local government and in central government, and what I really think is really good about the MRN is the way that we've got the STBs that are all working together with local authorities in a regional way to think about the region as a whole, rather than being a bit more siloed within your county or district or borough. And I think the MRN actually is linking up, thinking about strategically, not just in the region, but the surrounding regions in a way that can help deliver these 5 objectives.
Martin?
And if I could build on that, I think what's also important to understand is the proposals that have been put forward by the local partners to be considered here. They've given that consideration and that's put in the context of what they're proposing at the local level. So if I think about the schemes that have been put forward in Cambridgeshire, the combined authority, they have their business plan. They are looking at how can they deliver the opportunities and the potential in the combined authority area. The schemes they put forward for the major road network reflect the priorities of their overall business plan. If I think about the schemes in Northamptonshire, there you've got the Joint Planning Unit that's just recently published their investment plan. And so the schemes that have been put forward are not just being put forward in isolation as transport schemes. They're part of a very considered, well-developed and relating to the planned growth proposals for Northamptonshire. That's exactly what the MRN should be doing. And as we move forward with the transport strategy, we can work even more closely with our local partners to make sure that we're starting to pick up the longer-term objectives and opportunities in each of the parts of the region.
Okay, a question just building on that, Martin. You talked about providing certainty, well, confidence, clarity and certainty. Certainty that schemes will be delivered. Given the nature of highway planning, funding, how can you provide that certainty? You know, what have you got in your bag of tricks in the heartland which can provide that greater level of certainty than is normally available, which is, well, not very much?
So
discuss.
So I think the certainty comes in many ways. We've heard throughout this afternoon sessions the importance from the private sector, from the business sector, about having a vision and about having a sense of where we're trying to get to. I think what you're seeing with the publication of the outline transport strategy today is a sense of what that vision is, a sense of that strategy, a challenge, if you like, as to whether we are being sufficiently ambitious. If we're not, tell us. That's the whole point about the engagement. I think what you're seeing is the commitment from the local partners to invest in the subnational transport body to provide that. What you're seeing is that partnership with the delivery partners, all of those names that are on the screen there, working with us to understand how we get the schemes designed in the best way, the most cost-effective way, how, if we've got clarity around a program, they can then invest in the skills and the capability to deliver those schemes. I think this is about a journey that we've been on for the last 5 years, building that partnership, and we're starting to see the fruits of it.
So you talk about the program that supports investment in skills, and that's absolutely vital compared to what we were thinking about, what we were just talking about. I mean, Claire, what has the DFT got up its sleeve that can help Martin maintain this program? Because if he doesn't maintain this program, the supply chain isn't going to be able to develop its skills and innovation. How are you going to help?
So we've been encouraging all the STBs to be submitting their schemes, as you mentioned, at stages when they're realistically going to be able to be delivered. We have a 5-year funding process currently, and it's really important that the schemes that are coming to be delivered at the beginning are actually going to be able to be delivered at the beginning, rather than having a scheme that's going to take another 3 or 4 years of work. We end up with a tail in our funding. DFT loses out, the SDBs lose out, and local authority lose out. So by working really closely with local authorities and SDBs to really critically think about the schemes throughout the business case process and their actual deliverability when we're being realistic, I think that we can really help to make the most out of it. And then you guys can deliver the schemes on time and on budget, hopefully.
And is it Boris-proof? Is it Brexit-proof?
Is anything Boris-proof?
No, but seriously, well, is it Boris proof? Is it Brexit proof?
Well, at the moment, I think with the uncertainty going on with both who our next Prime Minister will be and also with what may happen with Brexit, it's uncertain times for everyone, both inside and outside of government. At the moment, we're not sure if we might have a change in cabinet in the next couple of months, but we're still determined that we'll be able to deliver everything we promised on.
Martin?
I'm forever the optimist. I just take a step back and think about what brought the political leaders 5 years ago to start this journey. They recognized the economic potential of this region. They understood that a successful economy is absolutely essential to be able to provide the support, the services that we all look for within our communities. They understand that actually realizing economic potential involves investment in infrastructure and services. None of that changes. All of that is consistent across time. And what you've got with England's economic heartland, with the subnational transport body, is a commitment from the political and the business leaders to continue to work in collaboration, to set the agenda, to identify what the opportunities are, and to make the best possible case, not just to government, but as we've heard earlier, to make the case to the business investors. Because if the case stacks up for investment, they will want to invest.
Are there any final questions? There is. Far away. There are. There is. There are. Far away. It is if you shout loudly.
Nick Carey from Wastephere.
Not that loud.
I should declare an interest. I am ex-DFT, and I did work with Martin on the CIHT response.
You can hold it a bit further
MRN.
away from your mouth. It picks you up. That's good. That's good.
But it might be one for Claire, it might be one for both of you. Highways England is blessed with a phenomenal commitment to safety, which is exemplary. It has 93,000 roadside devices to manage its network. It has an incredible fibre optic network, and it has many, many regional control centres. That's how it manages the network as well as it does. How are we going to ensure equity? I think that's a national problem. I don't think it can be solved by schemes so that actually the operation is seamless across the network, because don't forget, we make journeys, all of us make journeys. We don't really mind what road we're on, we just want it to be safe and get us to the next place. So I think without that integrated strategy, this ain't going to work.
Martin?
So I wouldn't disagree, Nick. I think we're on a journey. I think the relationship that we've had with Highways England has been extremely productive, not just as EEH, but collectively as subnational transport bodies. We meet on a quarterly basis as subnational transport bodies, and Highways England, DFT, Office of Road and Rail are in the room at the same time. There is a sense of collaboration at a national level as well as at the regional level. And I think there's a lot that we can learn and draw upon from Highways England. We're looking at how we need to develop a set of performance measures for the transport system as a whole moving forward. Why wouldn't we look at what happens on Highways England as their performance measures? There's some really good practice there that we need to think about. I think the fact that we have the major road network is for the first time a recognition, perhaps at a national level, this importance of local authority-owned roads as part of the economic infrastructure. And we need to build upon that. We've got the working relationships. We need to bring them closer together. And I think the signs are good of the partnerships that we've had to date, and certainly gives us the opportunity to build on it moving forward.
Martin, you're single-handedly breaking down many a silo. Good luck with that. No, seriously, good luck with that. That came out wrong. Martin and Claire, thank you very much indeed.